Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? This is Easy Things to Draw, and I'm Enrique. Hey. Hello. So today we're going to go over how to draw a horse. I'm going to draw the horse's head and maybe parts of its neck. I was just going to teach you the general kind of structure of how to make a horse, and I think that's, pretty helpful, so you can kind of create your own. And I will tell you the kind of the thing I use, and hopefully it'll help you out. And so let's kind of get into it. I'm going to be using this thing. It's called a Cretacolor Nero Hard number 4. Just use a regular colored pencil. This is just the equivalent of a pencil, really, or a colored pencil. It's nothing major. I wouldn't say go out and buy this. Just use whatever. I'm just using it because I found it here. And let's kind of go into a horse. Like I said, we're mostly going over the head. So let's kind of go into, first off, what is going on here. So I'm going to be drawing like crudely, and then I'm going to put a piece of paper over it. So just to kind of let you know, that's why I'm drawing so crudely. So the horse's head, I like to think about it as a kind of a coffin shape. So like, it's at an angle, it'll be something like that. And like I said, we've been drawing like blocks all week, at least on this channel last couple of weeks. So it shouldn't be too much of a departure from that. Like a polygon shape. But I like to think of it like a coffin. That's like the top of the head. And we've got like a neck sticking out over here. Right? So that'd be the general shape right there. The neck kind of gets bigger as it goes downward. You can kind of curve it as well. So, and then you have the ears sticking up from the top. Let me talk more about why this is. The reason I do this kind of coffin shape is because the eyes are generally going to be on the outside over here. I don't know if I've said this before. I might have said it in a different video, but generally, very generally, prey animals tend to have their eyes facing outward, and that's to kind of survey the premises, to kind of watch out for predators and things like that. That's kind of an evolutionary trait of what they evolved with. So generally, they tend to have them on the outside of their head, prey animals, generally. And then, as opposed to predatory animals tend to have them in the front. Like if you look at a lion or a tiger or something like that, or a cat, they tend to have them in the front because they need to judge distances. So they need kind of that vision. They need to cross over to kind of judge that distance, like how far to jump, things like that. And then you have the stuff in between, like, I forget what, like mongooses and stuff like that, where they kind of have them in between. They range because they're not the top of their food chain. But when you see something that's usually the top of its food chain, like a tiger, they tend to have them right up front. This is all general rules to kind of remember, because drawing them really involves kind of knowing something about them. So that's just a general thing. Another thing about this horse is has a giant kind of side cheek right here, this masseter they call it. Doesn't really have a very strong bite force because it doesn't go all the way up here. These muscles up here are not very big. They tend to be small. Stuff in his forehead is pretty small, even though this particular muscle on the side of his face is pretty big. If you divide up the head, if you're thinking towards the front of the front of this section, there's a reason why they. Again, there's another general rule, very general. Animals that graze from the grass tend to have a flatter front, usually, of their mouth right here. So this is flat. Tends to be flat when you kind of construct it out. The reason for that is because when you eat off the grass, you want to you're pushing your face, the horse, into the grass to kind of get as much grass as he can. So it tends to be flat, as opposed to when you look at a giraffe. A giraffe tends to have more of a pointed snout. You know what I mean? If you ever look at a giraffe, I look at a giraffe all the time because I go to the zoo and stuff. It's kind of more shaped like, blah, here's my giraffe. Anywho, I don't know why I just drew that. It looks like a dragon. But anyways, giraffes, trust me, giraffes tend to have a pointier snout. Go Google it as well. So, like I said, yeah, if you look at bull and buffalo and things like that, it tend to have like anything that's pushing its face in the ground all the time. Another thing would be like if you think of the horse, and this is just a little thing to know, because I'm only going over the head, but kind of reflects on its neck. If you were to draw the horse from the right, let's say looking that way, the horse's neck and spine right here tends to be an S curve. Right? Let's say this is rib cage over here, and that's the rest of it. Is this on camera? Yeah, okay, cool. Tends to be an S curve. And when it actually reaches down to get grass, it extends its spine to kind of reach the grass. You're kind of thinking like, how's it going to reach it all the way over there? How's it going to reach all the way down? So because it has this S curve, it looks shorter than it is, but then it extends as it kind of reaches down to kind of get the grass. Anywho, just something to know. I think that's helpful. So when we're looking at the front construction of his head, ignore all this. When we look at the front construction of his head, we are thinking about, for example, the lower lip. I like to add that part on, just like another box over here, kind of that pulls into the face. That's the lower lip, and you know that kind of lower chin lip part. And then there's this kind of what do they call it? I forget what they call this. A food sac. It's a sack right here that we have as well, our cheeks. You know what I mean? And that's to kind of like have the food in there because you're chewing it. You're like, you know, you kind of crunching it up before you kind of swallow it and digest it. They have that as well. I guess obviously a lot of animals have it. But yeah, so you gotta get this kind of weird little bulgy shape right there. And then the front right here, it's the nostrils. The nostrils are at the front. You have to remember that there's a lot of oxygen kind of going in to that horse. You know, it's like these things are like really kind of evolved to run. You know, and stuff like that. Like a lot, pretty much almost solely to run, really, because they have hooves. But you can draw the nostrils a couple of different ways. I've seen people do it very differently. And since it's more of a stylized thing, I've almost seen, you could do this kind of like horn shape here. You could do the, let me see, is that up here on screen? Yeah. You could do the, I mean, I like to do the kind of like, considering it being in that angle. Ow, my chair hurts. It's something like that. They all kind of look like apostrophes or something like that, or like quotation marks. I can do something like this, like what I just did there. Let's go into the ears. By the way, this is before I'm going to throw a sheet of paper over it and kind of go over it. If you go into the ears, they come out the top of the the top of the head. It's kind of small, like a head over here. And I like to think of the ears as, let's say, like a small cylinder. Let's say it's a cylinder with another kind of maybe long tube on it that was maybe that tube was like split down the side, so it tends to have this kind of open section here. And that's the way I like to think about it. Like I said, like you had that tube or something like that. Let's say you had like a paper coiled at the top and someone just splits it down the side and it opens up into that. You know what I mean? Obviously there's a point over there as well. So I don't know, that's just one way to think about it. For me personally, it helped me a lot. I mean, a lot. They can be pretty long too, these ears. I mean, it's kind of amusing. This one's facing us a little bit more. Open over here. Whoops. Top of the head, and kind of the muscles over here of the masseter. You don't really have to. I guess we don't have to do that. You know what I mean? You can throw like maybe it has some hair over here, but again, this is the undersketch, right? So that's the structure that I generally adhere to. You got the ridge right here. The ridge is pretty. You can kind of. You know, we'll make that organic on the next one right here. So let's kind of put the piece of paper over it. This is a regular sheet of paper, guys. It's 11 by 17 though. Oops, we're sharpening it. This is regular though. Every single week I do this, right? I get there's always a question that says, is that tracing paper? Or I don't know where the tracing paper is. Or I have to get tracing paper now? Like, no, it's not tracing paper. Normal paper does this. So, what's lucky, right? All right. Okay, sharpening this. This will be good enough. It's kind of dull. So when you're going into the eyes tend to be very human-like. You got the same stuff. You get the eyelid, ball of the eye, all that stuff. So it looks remarkably human. A little too angry there. I don't know why I did that. Sorry. Side of the cheek, right? It's kind of running into the head, running into that eye right there. You get that cheekbone. Remember that cheekbone? It's pretty big. Like that's cheekbone. Sorry, that massetter's pretty big. It's kind of like a box among itself. And you're gonna try to make this organic, right? We're making this organic now. Those are the structure underneath. Now we're trying to keep that structure, but also pull some kind of organicness into it. So this neck is like this. It's coiled. It's coiled so that it's kind of scrunching up right here, as its head is kind of running into its own neck almost. There's this looking down. We have that too, like the scrunching up. Go over here, the ridge, that kind of ridge of the nose here. That cheek, that kind of masseter. I mean, I don't know, sorry about that, guys. I'm like mixing myself up here. Going over here, getting the front of that nostril in. That's the shape I'm choosing to pick here. Trying to mirror that over here on this other side. Top of the mouth here. Pulls in. Goes into the lip there. Got that lower, kind of lower lip, and then you got that lower jaw over here. Pulling that up a little bit because the muscles are hanging off. Boom, boom. It's got this kind of divot. I don't know how to say this. It's kind of like, not all horses have it, but I think it's kind of a cool stylized thing to pull that up. Top portion of the nose here, pulling it back a little bit as it goes into that ridge, pulling up. I think it's a little bit lower on that side than I previously thought. It's mostly just kind of the side of the ridge of the head there because the eye is facing the other direction. I could put a sliver of an eye over there like I just did, just a sliver. Pull it back here, forehead. Right back into there. Getting that ear. I already kind of have that essentially traced out over there. All I have to do is kind of go over it. Same thing on this side. Just moving it a little bit, like a smudge. Going up over here. Just kind of indicating that crack, that open there. Cool because donkeys look pretty similar. Donkeys look more like zebras. There's different proportions, you know what I mean? I'll talk about that another day. Actually, right before I do that, though, hold on. Fill this in. This kind of has like the outside of the nostrils has this kind of like shape to it. Has this cool little I don't know how to say it, horse shape, I guess. I don't know how to say it. It's just a shape here. I don't know how to say it, guys. And then pull it back, pulls down here, and then you could, indicate the hair, blah blah blah. This isn't a hair demo, guys. Let me slide this stuff out underneath here. And kind of concentrate on this. If you want, go into kind of more detail with the shapes. But you don't have to. You know what I mean? It's just a general idea of how to get the horse down. I just wanted it to look a little bit more presentable by doing that. You could throw a line right here through the center. I've seen that a lot. I do that for everything. I think it adds kind of clarity and dimension to what you're looking at. I did that for the other one too, the crocodile. Anyways, that's the general idea of a horse. Throw the neck muscle there. That's a general idea of how to draw a horse. I hope you learned something. I'm really trying to like up the kind of the way I teach. You know what I mean? Significantly. I'm trying really hard. So let me know, guys. Like it if you did like the way this went, and I hope you guys have a good day.